My name is Sheena with Rise Wellness, and this is our weekly prayer for the Way of Namaste. Today is August 1st, and today I wanted to start off by inviting us into a Lamas prayer. Lamas being a pagan holiday that celebrated the cross time, whereas some religions or spiritualities will celebrate the junctures of the equinoxes and the solstices. We also have cross-quarter holidays like Beltan, like Samhain around Halloween, and this one here marking the space, the middle point between the equinox and the solstice, between the solstice and the equinox. This is a time where we're celebrating the grains of our harvest. We're celebrating the fertility. This is the peak point of summer. There is creativity in the air. There's bounteousness in the soil. And this prayer gives thanks and celebration for that time. So historically, this day was celebrated with a feast, especially with bread. And we can also think about the biblical story of Yeshua and the Last Supper, the breaking of the bread, the celebration of this fertile time. And so I'd like to invite us into this traditional prayer now, just coming into awareness of our breath. Arriving here in this moment. If it feels in alignment, you may want to soften your gaze or close down your eyes. The Corn King gives his life for the land. We toast his sacrifice with ale in our hand, and eat the bread from the harvest made, as sheaves of corn to the earth are laid. Transformation surrounds us. The harvest turned to food and drink. Now is the time to learn and to think of what we can do to grow even stronger as the summer recedes and nights grow longer. We share our rewards and bless the earth that brings our fruitful abundance to birth. May our well-earned bounty reward our toil as we harvest the seed and the grain from the soil. Taking a deep breath in and out. According to the Gene Keys, this week we are in Gene Key 33. This is the shadow of forgetting. This is the gift of mindfulness. And this is the city or the divine expression of revelations. And this is the pathway of Yeshua, of Jesus, of Christ consciousness, or Sophia Christ consciousness, or however we want to articulate and label the way shower of our divine nature, the truth of our oneness, that we are light beings of love and peace. Love is who we are. And this forgetting on the collective shadow is when we're so distracted that we're not actually embodied in our truth. And some of us can go years, sometimes even lifetimes, being so distracted by outer programs that we never actually light ourselves up from the inside. We don't experience enlightenment when we're so tethered to the opinions and the reflections of those outside of us. Revelation is actually being in touch with our own inner divine light and allowing that to be our moral compass. where no matter what's happening around us, we stand in the truth of our sovereign nature and we move in alignment with what is true for us. And in this way, we move toward love, returning all non-love with love. The path of Yeshua was the path of forgiveness. And we are invited this week to embody what forgiveness feels like in our body. When we are so validated by our relationships, we hand our power over to them. And if they don't say the thing that we want them to say, we can start forgetting our own divine nature. And in that place, we can start playing the characters of how others perceive us and become misaligned with our own truth. And then we end up in relationships we're not satiated from, or careers where we're not feeling fulfilled but burnt out, or our relationships aren't high vibrational and full of creativity, but they're low vibrational and they're full of drama and conflict and gossip. Mindfulness is when we become empowered by our own light, our own integrity, recognizing that our word is our wand and we are mindful with the language that we use. We recognize that safety is when we can be in the frequency of embodiment, that every single word that we say is also embodied. We're not just talking the talk, but we are walking the walk. And this creates harmony within our system that's then projected outside of our auric field. People can actually feel our trust. And through that somatic expression of feeling what harmony between words and actions are, creates connection with others. And from this place, we create communities with like-minded individuals because we are in a place of unity, of going beyond the selfish ego. And this is the journey that humanity is undergoing right now, as we're all shifting into the 5D dimension that's no longer operating from the egoic mind, but has dropped into the collective heart space. When we feel with our hearts, we feel the intelligence of the environment, the living wisdom that's created and birthed through our environment. And when we break out of low vibrational energies, we're no longer circulating drama and conflict like a spirit that we may feel at a bar, moving from person to person, a negative dark entity that can be consuming a space, sometimes making people have angry outbursts, sometimes leading to accidents, sometimes leading people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. But when we come into a place of mindfulness, and when we don't have to be taken over by a substance outside of us, whatever that substance is, we become sober, we become clear-headed, we become mindful and heart-centered. And from this place, the energies that are birthed forward are high vibrational. Now when we come in circles, there is a new spirit that comes around, and it's the spirit of the divine, of love, of beauty, of creativity, of authenticity. And this spirit moves through each and every one of us and offers us a different and unique insight. Sometimes inspiring written word, and other times a painting. Sometimes inspiring a course, a leadership training on how to embody this message of the truth of our oneness. And sometimes coming in the form of a song or a circle, or something as practical as an invention to remind us of the truth of our oneness in whatever creative way that might come forward. Revelations this week is turning the lights back on within us. This is our invitation to remember. The I Ching hexagram named this one retreat. And revelations only happens after we have taken time to retreat. Because whether it's for a moment or a lifetime, retreat is coming into our own inner sanctuary and receiving the divine guidance that's there waiting for us. This Gene Key is the master of reflecting on how we have made choices and how our life has been lived. And when we have our great revelation, when we tear down the veil and truth is revealed to us, we're no longer bound by our egoic story and the suffering of that being, but we release it fully. We get to reap the harvest of our good deeds, recognizing that all bad things do come to an end. And revelation is that moment where we recognizing that where we once suffered is now the fertile soil for something new. Something that once carried a charge is now creating purpose. Our pain becomes our purpose, and that becomes the point. Our mess is our message, and we are here to share how we alchemized our pain into gold. This past summer, earlier this summer, I went to the Ringling Museum of Fine Art, and there was a particular painting that struck me there. It was Melchizedek and Abraham, and they were having an exchange. They were breaking bread together, and it makes me think of this llamas. And it makes me remember somatically the feeling I had in my body when I looked at that painting. Because what it was a truce. It was an offering. It was an exchange that said we are no longer going to suffer by what once was, and we're gonna lay it to rest. And divine justice comes back in when we have paid our dues, when we have released ourselves from the stories that have kept us bound to our suffering. And in that moment, I was transformed when I looked at that painting, and I recognized in my own body where I had once had suffering was now a place of peace, of actual ecstasy and joy, because now recognizing what was once so heavy has now been released into something that is so much better than I ever could have imagined. As I looked at this painting, I was reminded of my ex-husband and all the love that exists there beyond my story of what I thought that our relationship was going to be. Because the lessons that I learned from that interaction have been insurmountable. I never would have imagined such a curriculum of learning, and I wouldn't change any of it. When I can look back at my suffering, I can look back with gratitude, and I can believe in that gratitude, because what once were my hardest days have all become the most rich soil for the enrichment and the aliveness of my soul's freedom that it came here longing for. This is what Lammas means to me. The revelation of coming back into fertile soil, where there's no more monsters in our closets. There's no more toxicities in our bodies. And our bodies become the breeding grounds for something so much more bountiful and beautiful than we had ever originally imagined. And I know right now that all of humanity is going through a womb cleaning, and it has allowed so so many things to be purged out of our system, and it can feel like a lot of grief sometimes. It can feel like a lot of trauma. And days like today, I invite us to lay it down as rich soil, as compost, because there is so much more beauty to come when we can cultivate the space for it, and that space is cultivated by our forgiveness. Sometimes that forgiveness means zooming out if we're too close to the subject. And when we zoom out, we get to levitate, we get to put our wings on, and we get to turn on that third eye vision to step outside of our suffering and witness an entirely new perspective as the observer to the suffering. Asking what in this moment is here for me to learn. How is the universe asking me to forgive? And who is the universe asking me to forgive in this moment? Which version of me? This week I invite us into the celebration how far we have come. This is our bounty. This is what we get to celebrate now, is health as wealth in our body. Community, network. This is our work now, is reaching out, is being supported and supporting others. This week invites us to break bread together, to come around the table and just celebrate the bounty of life. As Yeshua said, I breathe, therefore I prosper. This is the revelation, is to recognize the power of our breath, because in between our inhalation and our exhalation is an entire universe. And we as sovereign beings get to choose what we allow in that universe. I invite you this week to observe the moments of mindfulness. When you come into a meditation, there will be thoughts that emerge. When you come into moments of pause, and I hope you do this week, I invite you to be with whatever comes up without the judgment. Justice, divine justice, is accepting what just is. The most sacred thing is what just is. So let us celebrate this life. Let us celebrate our connection with our brothers and sisters, and let us celebrate the bounteousness of this Leo season right now as we prepare to go dark in the next few days with our new moon in Leo. I am inviting in this retreat, this inner sanctuary. Leo season may invite us out to be really social and extroverted, but let's also remember to go within as well for this new moon and retreat into our sanctuary to ask ourselves, what do we need now? And be willing to trust the inner guidance that's always available to us. I'm sending you so much love and light this week. Namaste.